Okay, welcome everyone to the TNA Spring Challenge number 6. The community has about more than a week to wrap their heads around Unleashed, and hopefully in the throne action today we see some spice, some added spice from the very powerful cards and mechanics in Unleashed. And for the first match, we have two control decks going head to head. Feln versus Huru. What's your read on that, Ilya?
So ultimately, I think that it Huru should have more card draw because found at any cost, it sort of gives up a lot to pump that shadow influence. For instance, Forbidden Research, it's a draw 3 discard 2, so it doesn't put you up any cards. So I'm not sure how much Feln at any cost actually how much raw card draw and card advantage Feln at any cost keeps around. And with the new primal display, Huru Control should be able to protect itself from Feln's signature spell. For instance, in Derek Davis's deck, we see a full playset of Display of Survival and 2 copies of Skycrag Synthesis. So if those line up, and of course the obligatory 4 islands favors, and 4 Cobalt Waystones. So there's basically always going to be a face Aegis on Derek Davis, and in contrast, Feln at any cost. If I can find this.
They are running a 2-2 split between the two new displays from Unleashed, 2 display of survival, 2 display of will, kind of trying to cash in on the versatility of each card, I suppose.
Yeah. Ultimately, hey, I want to play, a lot of options to deal with things, but if you look at DrStein's deck, there's 3 copies of Defile, there are 3 copies of Saloon Massacre, and then Display of Will. Okay, that actually has use. And I mean, Ikaria First Reaper versus Huru Control. Good luck getting through the face Aegis. So as we see, there's a lot of spot removal in Feln at any cost. That's just basically a complete brick in this match, if I am correct. But I'm going to take a look at Derek Davis's deck once again. Okay, so Derek Davis does have the Scourge of Frostholm in the market, which is not going to be a good pull here because that's going to run straight into Ikaria. So overall, I do think the Huru deck is favored here. I think Stormhawk Plating is just a better win con than anything that Feln's bringing to the table. Because Feln has to get through all the face Aegis, the Stormhawk Plating in a basically unitless mirror it's much better position.
Notably,
that's my take on it.
Notably, DrStein is running a copy of Silverblade Menace in the market, so if they do manage to find a dead spot between all the face Aegis in Derek Davis's deck, they can potentially get in for a lot of basically lifesteal damage.
This is true. Anyway, let's head to the game.
Yeah. So we're gonna see mulligans here in just a second. Overall, also, Derek Davis also running 2 copies of Fall of the Spire as Harsh Rules number 5 and 6 in their deck list. However, this card can potentially be awkward, as the wording on it basically means that if any important card draw, any important removal is in your void, it can sometimes just not be available to use in a key turn.
Yeah, I disagree with Fall of the Spire in this Huru Control list. I mean, I get that you want more sweepers, but is this really the card you want? I am not so sure about that. I mean, we see the full 4 copies of Hailstorm. We see the full 4 copies of Harsh Rule. I do think that's enough. Uh, you know, I would rather run, bring to justice. If you absolutely must have more removal,
We
then
see DrStein firing off with a shadow symbol into an exploit, into a pretty proactive hand somewhat by Dark Davis. They have a merchant, they have two Wisdom of the Elders, they have they have one of the new primal displays, and they have a Fall of the Spire. And DrStein taking there the merchant, which is the main proactive play from Derek.
yeah, that's honestly not a bad take here, because that chip damage is going to add up when DrStein ultimately wants to go for those 12 influence at any costs. So
We see DrStein there firing off a Vara's favorite Two-Face, just trying to get as many Shadow Sigils off the deck as possible, trying to build up that Shadow influence for their win condition, which is at any cost. And we see them go into the market for a check raise.
I am not sure about that grab, because this is a long, grindy match. That check raise, I mean, I'm not a fan of the card, because if you remember the card Argo's Technique, that was a check raise, except for 2. So, you know, that card ultimately saw very little play.
Well, two is a lot more than 1, to be completely fair. We see DrStein firing off an exploit, and then in response, Derek with the display, and then the check raise will get used so that the display comes through and picks another piece of Derek's hand. DrStein here choose to take the Honor of Claws. Derek's hand seems a bit dead to me right here. They mostly have a bunch of card draw, just to spin their wheels and hopefully find some sort of win condition like Stormhold plating. Is that the case?
I mean, here's the thing about Hero Control. The entire point is you have a bunch of air. You have a bunch of card draw, because the idea is your opponent's going to do a bunch of things. You're going to answer
It appears
them.
we have lost
and
Ilya.
then and then and then once your opponent's out of things, you can just keep card drawing into card draw, and eventually find your win con. So
speaking of card draw into card draw, seeing a forbidden research here, discarding some more removal into a Grenahan, which will pick up. I mean, DrStein is running pretty much all units and spells. That's all that's in their deck. So Grenahan should be able to hit pretty much all your important targets, whether it's removal that you want. Oh, wow, that was actually quite important. Never mind. Well, this is a control deck that is running 4 copies of Ikaria First Reaper along with 4 copies of Davia Azure Breaker, which right there you have 8 hits plus the 4 other merchants. So that's 12 plus the at any cost. So that's another 16. Now, it's definitely an ambitious card, but if you manage to stick it, it can do a little bit of cheap damage, because at the end of the day, while 12 damage from at any cost is definitely a lot, sometimes it cannot be enough, so that cheap damage can go a long way. We see DrStein fire a Vara's Authority, which is one of the things we talked about during the deck examination, which is one of the soft spots where they can get through the ages and start firing off at any cost. Which Davia we see going for an exploit here, actually, managing to. It did manage to get a flicker out of Derek's hand, which might have been the actual objective of DrStein. See a harsh rule here, getting the Aegis off of Davia. That's quite unfortunate. Then we see our inclination get used on Davia for 5 armor, which is actually kind of relevant in this matchup. Well, how do you feel about Icaria into Icaria? Well, Derek Davis currently does not have a way to re-up their face edges. However, they do have a Boundless Knowledge in hand, new card from Unleashed, 4-cost fast spell, draw 2 cards with Unleash, which will draw you another copy. So, 4 power gets 2 cards, 8 power gets you 4 cards, and it just goes up from there. Oh, absolutely brutal. Yeah, Derek Davis sitting at such a comfortable life total that even though they could comfortably take hits from this Icaria, they choose to defiance it, just buy themselves a couple of turns, just sit back, relax, win this game eventually. Hmm. In response to that, we see a Boundless Knowledge from Derek Davis, which unfortunately does not find them another source of re-up in phase. They just like the display of survival, which is, I assume, what they were hoping for. However, they do draw into a Merchant, which is quite the live draw at this point in the game. How do we feel about 6 power draw 7? Is that good? We've seen better, I feel. We see Davia, even more cards. Oh. We see DrStein here with both a Merchant and at any cost. However, that Saloon Massacre not doing a whole lot on this board state. You can clear out the Helio, but you don't really care about your own life total. Definitely quite very possible, actually. In DrStein's market, there is still a Silver Blade mana. So again, if we can somehow see another turn without a face ages, that is potentially a lot of damage, especially because those Boundless Knowledge, that new card from Unleash, fills the void very, very quickly. And that Silver Red Menace is now up to probably lethal by this point. Or close enough. We see Derek going to the market again for Scourge of Frostholm. I believe we have seen 2 Icarias for right now. Ouch. Yeah, DrStein here going to the market, and well, everything's a bit frozen on the other side of the board. Well, you know, we talked about Derek Davis just chilling until they could win the game. I didn't thought it would be this literal, but unless DrStein can find another Icaria, which would be able to remove the face ages and kill the Scourge of Frostholm, that would be their best chance at a win here. Unfortunately, there's still, I believe, does Silverblade Menace still gain the life if it is blocked by face ages? Yeah, very, very likely. They might. DrStein might not want to reveal the Silver Member, but I believe this tournament is open deck list, so. Correct. Well, that was a very, very slow and very painful matchup for DrStein, I think. Last word, fan favorite from set 1 of Eternal. For people that are not in the know, it is a 9 power triple shadow 1/1 relic weapon that gives you deadly, and you can pay 9 to make its stacks deadly to players, which is definitely also very important to note, yes. So if you are against a control deck that is not playing very heavily to the board, that can be a very surprise kill out of absolutely nowhere, especially against a deck like Huru Control, who does not actually have a lot of direct damage, even in the form of pings. Absolutely. However, in DrStein's deck, there are 3 copies of Vara's Authority, which can be kind of a stealthy, cheeky way of getting rid of the face ages for one of those very, very crucial turns that might be enough to get you ahead, whether it is an Icaria getting killed, whether it is you firing at any cost at the enemy face. We see Derek here with Skycrack Synthesis in hand. What is your opinion on the new card from Unleash, Skycrack Synthesis? Definitely. Definitely a couple of copies of this card, if you manage to get a semi big spell to to get countered, you might just get a decent creature that will stay on the board for one or two turns that needs to get answered, and you might just get in a couple of beats, and sometimes that's literally all you need. See here, DrStein firing Vara's favor at Derek Davis, get rid of the Aegis, following up with an exploit. What would you take in this hand? DrStein going for one of the first copies of the Merchant here. Derek Davis drawing into yet another source of face Aegis with 2 waste stones in hand already. Look, Derek Davis is simply doing the responsible thing and wearing a mask, okay? We see a Gwena hand here from DrStein. It means we have a bit of a problem with the opponent's hand, so we cannot see exactly what the Gwena hand took. However, Derek Davis here with a boundless knowledge, and they will opt not to play that and just draw 3 cards off of this Helio, get a little flying beater off. Forbidden Research from DrStein, trying to build that at any cost. Already up to 10 Shadow Influence. We need 2 more, I believe, is the case. And then cost 3 quadruple Shadow fast spell, deal 3 damage with lifesteal, and if you have 12 Shadow Influence, you get to deal and decay. Wow, that is actually quite relevant against some of the threats in the format. Yeah, 12 Shadow Influence, you get to deal the full 12 damage, which is 12 plus 12, 24. Give or take a couple of chip damage from here or there. That's a player's life total. Not only that, but at any cost, firing off even a single at any cost helps you with your stalling game plan, where that is a whole 12 life that you are gaining. We see, of course, we see here DrStein with Icaria, First Reaper, Davia in hand, 2 copies of Davia, Exploit, and a check raise. Quite a loaded hand, especially against this board state. Derek Davis currently with no sweeper in hand, so we might see some sort of battle for the board state here. Very importantly as well, the Huru deck's answers tend to be more reactive, while the Feln's deck answers tend to be more proactive. Would you say that's the case? Oh god. Royal Decree with Onslaught. Royal Decree, for people that are not know, 2 mana spell with Onslaught. You transform a card in the enemy hand into a sigil, I believe is the case. And if you have Onslaught, you transform every copy everywhere. which
Yeah.
sick power, my bad, into a sick power.
Yeah, and okay, so what did we hit? It's
I believe the at any cost was hit.
ooh. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that might be the end of the road here for DrStein. Dark
I mean,
Davis
the units
sitting.
can still get there.
Absolutely. However, Dark Davis is holding 2 Stormhold platings in hand. Hold 2 of them.
Oof.
Although we might
that's
see
rough.
one of them. We might see one of them fly by due to this exploit. Exploit on the stack. Derek decides to Skycrack Synthesis, and their Skycrack Synthesis gets check raised, and not
Okay,
enough
fair
chips.
enough.
Not enough chips to pay for that check raise.
Fair enough.
This is a very rough hand to exploit. It's have you ever had those situations where you exploit and instead of being happy that you got off your turn to discard, you look at the opponent's hand and you wonder if you should even play this matchup?
Yeah, anyone who's played Eternal long enough will just see the opponent's hand, see it's completely full of gas, and then you start counting and think, what card can they reasonably play in the coming turns? And then you hope they stumble on power. But Derek Davis is already at the top of his curve, so at this point it's just, hey, I have to try and work through 2 copies of Stormhawk plating.
Derek Davis re-upping their face ages with 2 more sources of it in hand, firing off the Stormhold plating, clearing off both Davia and the Merchant. Stormhold plating still alive to get in for 12 damage on the next turn. And we'll see an A space here.
Yeah, so those dorks, pair of Merchants and a Helio, that's 6 damage a turn. That's not nothing. So
Jet of Merchant, not a super aggressive unit like it used to be. Its stat line was changed from a 3-2 to a 2-3. However, it is still a dork with face edges that can get in for some cheap damage.
Ooh,
and Stormhold. Sorry, go ahead.
DrStein thought they found an opening to get in with Silverblade. And Display of Survival just gonna say, nope, no you didn't.
Display of Survival really proving its worth on this event already.
Oh, I definitely think it's the best of the new displays. I'd like to say by far, but Display of Will has something to say about that, and maybe Display of Realities, the time one, is also pretty solid.
I believe although DrStein is running 2 shot displays, we have not seen any of those in this match just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2 of, and this Felon deck isn't exactly super with card draw. And in this case, okay, DrStein is forced into playing out this Davia and just getting something off of her, because otherwise they're just dead to the Stormhawk plating.
Yeah, we see DrStein doing exactly that. Davia comes down and will get an exploit from the void to pop that face ages, likely so that DrStein can set up for either Icaria or maybe
and well,
maybe
that's
anything to get ahead.
Derek Davis just top decked another Stormhawk plating.
Never didn't have it. Derek Davis slamming in with the giant armor for the win.
Yeah. It's
rough.
It's rough.
Oh. I do believe DrStein put on a good fight there, but like you said, this is basically one of those prize boxes, one of those gag prize boxes where you get rid of a face ages and guess what you won. It's another face ages. We're gonna see if we have another match. That did took quite a moment, so we might not have another coverage match. We have quite the amount of people. I believe we have 30 entrants in this edition of the challenge. Looking at some of the other decks that challengers have brought, there's quite a variety. It seems Argenport midrange / Argenport Minotaurs is also pretty popular. Speaking of, actually.
Yeah, so what? Okay, so honestly, I think we have pretty diverse meta today. Argenport mid and Argenport mid, Argenport Minotaurs, I think might be the same deck. Like let me look at Lord Perth's deck. Yeah, 4 copies of Tavrod, 4 copies of Black Book, 2 Sharp Tacticians, several Auric Interrogators. Okay, so
some of these it appears that some of these decks are running Auric Gift, while some of them. Oh, we are being informed that the round is over. So we will be back in just a bit with round 2.